Hey guys, thank you for watching The Naturalist Capitalist. I am your host, Reed Coverdale, and no surprise at all, I've got David Fite back on the show again. How's it going,
What's
David?
going on, guys? How's it going, Reed?
Good. This is my 80th episode. You made episode 80. So
wow.
Congrats.
It is an honor to be a part of this show once again. It's always a good time. I love going on your show.
Yeah, same. I like going on yours. It's definitely far from the last time, unless we get into some like ridiculous screaming match for some reason on this episode. Maybe that'll put an end to it.
That would be so interesting. Well, if you join the Mises caucus and I keep with the Pragmatist caucus, we have to be enemies. So we're gonna have to break up this friendship here pretty soon.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't know if that's going to happen. It could, because I've stayed away from the caucus endorsing business just because I don't like caucuses, but I'm kind of almost being pushed there because like I'm just always defending them, and pretty much everyone else hates me. So, I might just end up there by default, but we'll see. I'm not really sure what's going to happen there. But. So
yeah, I was keeping out of it for a while. Oh, sorry, you.
Go ahead. I want to hear what you
move on past this. We've talked caucuses. I was just saying, I've stayed out of it for a while, but I heard what the Pragmatist caucus was actually preaching, and they called themselves a non-ideological caucus, and that I was like, okay, I like what their actual messaging is. Like, it has nothing to do with ideology. It has everything to do with like just win elections. Like, that's what we're here to do as a party. I think a lot of the caucuses are either about like messaging or like priority levels, and for the Pragmatists, it's just about a focus on winning. And I had a conversation with our executive director when he kind of brought me on board, and he said you have to make me a promise before I can onboard you. You have to promise me something. And I was like, okay. He was like, I need you to promise me that you put yourself first, the party second, and the caucus third. I was like, okay. Like that kind of shit I can be on board with. Like people that aren't about the divisiveness. There's a lot of divisiveness still, but I like the idea of trying to make the caucuses better, and I think we can only do that by joining them, the same as the party. We couldn't make the party better from the outside, and we're not going to make the caucuses get along from the outside either.
Yeah, it's true. So what we're going to talk about tonight, we're actually not going to talk about politics. Shocker, shocker. We're going to talk about religion and faith and the search for truth, or as I titled this episode, the fight for truth. Will, if you're watching, Will, we wish you were here because this was supposed to be fight night, but Will just couldn't make it, so we'll try to squeeze that in next week or something. But I actually don't really know what you believe. I know we've talked about it a little bit, but it's more just like been touching on it. So everybody already knows what I believe. So why don't you just, even if you're in the midst of a journey, just tell us where you are in that journey. Like what does David Fite believe right now?
Okay. So yeah, I feel like I'm nearing, I won't say that because I'm not nearing the end of my journey. I've finally realized that there is no end to this journey, and it is just a lifelong process of trying to make yourself a better person, because you're never going to be done with that. But I feel like I'm rounding out my beliefs a little bit more. This last year has been kind of like, or 2 years, I should say. But I was a Christian. I actually in like 2019 went really heavy into my Christianity. I like actually felt like I believed something more than I ever really had before, and I was actually like having good conversations with other good Christians, and I was really like building my faith up and interacting with God and like having like just a great relationship and a great like it was actually kind of awesome. And as I like really started to dig into that and met some other people with some other beliefs. Mutual friend of ours being Livy McKay helped me round out a decent amount of this. Just kind of figuring out that like the Bible is kind of bullshit, but like what's in the Bible is still pretty awesome. And just like the teachings of Jesus are solid. But like the fact that he's the son of God and like whether or not he did exactly what it says he did and all of these other things, it's like it's a 2,000-year-old book that's been written and rewritten and changed and edited, and like they added things that they didn't like and took out things that they wanted to be able to do. And it's like, I don't believe this shit. But it was kind of a fun process for the last like 6 months that I've kind of been going like systematically through what I used to believe, and like kind of like when you clean your room, it's like keep or throw away. It's like this something that makes sense based on like the overarching ideals of just being a better person, like what I consider to be libertarian philosophy of like live and let live, be a good person. If it's with that, then cool. If it's not, throw it away. And so now I guess the closest thing, if I had to pick like an identifier, I would call myself like a Taoist, because that's kind of like the root base where like Buddhism and Hinduism and like a lot of the other Eastern religions are built from, is Taoism. And so I don't know if I really like any of the specific flavors of it yet, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. So, just I think that there is an energy out there that kind of like rewards you for doing good and punishes you for doing bad, but it's about the other people around you that kind of have that energy. And like, if you do shitty stuff, people aren't going to like you. People aren't going to do nice things for you. It's just like, it's just sensible. I don't think that it's necessarily supernatural, but I think it's spiritual, and that, there's a lot of fun things in religion that help you hone that down. And so I'm having fun studying lots of different facets of it at the moment.
There you go. I remember when I first realized I did not believe the Bible, that was not a welcome thought. I think a lot of people don't want to believe something, or they don't like how something sounds, so they look for something that sounds better or is more reassuring to them. That really wasn't what happened with me. Like, I just straight up realized, like, I can't believe this anymore. I don't believe it anymore. And it was in shades. Like, initially it was, okay, I don't believe in the story of the Tower of Babel. I don't think that's why we all speak different languages. I don't think people tried to build a tower to heaven and God was like, what the fuck is this shit? I'm going to confuse you guys so you can't try this again. If he felt threatened by a tower we built, it seems like he would have done something to us when we made a space shuttle. Like that might have been a little bit more threatening. So, there are things like that I stopped believing pretty quickly. Like Noah's Ark, Samson killing 1,000 people with a jawbone.
See, that one I still kind of believe, not gonna lie. Samson, I still believe, because I want to still believe in Samson because Samson is dope. I some of those like Old Testament stories, I'm like, I don't know what was going on 10,000 years ago. Maybe that shit, maybe like, I don't know. Maybe somebody back then, like there was different types of human back then, right? Like maybe back then there were people that were strong enough to just like raw and tear down stone. Like, fuck, I don't know. It's cool if it's true. So like,
yeah, I mean, I guess I shouldn't have cut my hair. Maybe if I just let it grow out all the way, I'd have that power. But yeah, so I mean, I just like slowly started disbelieving parts like that, and I was like, so I was sifting through it, taking out the more outlandish things, and then, in my opinion, I got to the point where I was like, it's kind of like with how I just became an anarchist. I'm going to tie this in a little bit to politics, but the idea of minarchy is, you think the government sucks at doing everything, yet you still want it to do the most important functions, which is, where I kind of came full circle and realized, no, I really, this doesn't make any sense. It was kind of like that with my faith because I was like, well, I'm discounting, all these outlandish stories. But then like the hardest part to believe is what I was still holding as the foundation. And I realized like, I don't believe in any of this. Like I just don't. And I've just convinced myself that I do. And I'm also terrified of admitting that I don't believe this because as you know, like from the time you're a kid, you're taught like, if you ever get to that point where, you don't believe in Jesus anymore, that's, you're done. You're toast. So you like never want to walk through that door. Mm-hmm. And then finally I did in 2016. I was just like, nope, I don't believe this. And after I did that, it was actually like a really freeing feeling. And that was kind of how I started devolving from my faith.
Yeah, I not to tie this back into politics for a second time already in 10 minutes, but
it's what we do, guys.
You read 1984, right?
Oh, right.
Yeah. So I'm actually, I still haven't finished it yet, but I'm almost there. And I'm reading through one of the sections of like the book, right? That was written by like the rebellion leader, whatever. And he's laying out the concept of doublethink and how teaching that concept to people is what makes them able to be controlled. And because what you're teaching them is that if you have two thoughts that conflict in any way, that's a failure of human like brain function, right? And that you need to like shut down instantly. And like, that's how we were raised as Christians. Like we were raised to shut that shit down right away. Like, because wait, that doesn't match up with what the Bible says. So like, I can't think that. It's like, I have to hate gay people. I can't, he's my friend, but like, I don't know. Like we just shut down. That's how we were taught to do. And then I guess some of us finally stopped shutting down and actually had those thought processes.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were pretty willing to talk with me about any questions I had, but that was not mirrored by all the institutions we were part of. I remember going to summer camp, and I don't know how old I was, 15 maybe. And I at this point, I was actually like in a teen service organization. We would do volunteer work at the camp. We'd like set the tables and clean the bathrooms and stuff like that. And it was just like a youth and training sort of deal. And so we did tons of devotions and evangelism training. And I remember one class we were having, the head counselor was explaining, he asked the question, why do Catholics go to hell? And I was just like, what? It was just such a weird question. And I kind of snarkily replied, I said, is it the same reason all Protestants go to heaven? And he was just,
yikes.
I mean, yeah, he was making these really strong claims, and I was questioning him, and I was like, where are you finding that information? Why are you saying that? And his answer was basically, I'm just going to pray that you have more understanding, or you need to really, you need to really guard your temptations, or the devil's tugging at your. I don't know. Like that was always the excuse. Like if you started having questions, it was Satan tempting you, or you didn't have the spiritual gift of understanding, and they were just going to pray for you that it would come to you. I was just like, that's bullshit. Like you can't. That's not an answer. That's propaganda.
Right. Statism is the world's deadliest religion, but Christianity's close fucking behind it, because we just do dumb shit.
Yeah.
Like I will never again look at the war in the Middle East and the Crusades differently. Like for the rest of my days, like it is the exact same thing. It's like, hey, those brown people on the complete other side of the world think something differently than we do. Let's murder them until they change their mind.
Yeah.
What? All over a fucking like tiny piece of desert. Like what the fuck? What's the
Yeah, I
point?
mean, I feel like just like statism compels people to do incredibly stupid shit, religion does too. Like, I don't think, I don't think that human nature, as fucked up as it is, as fucked up as nature is, I don't think we have an impulse for genocide. I don't think that's not it's not natural. Like, it's not like expansion, sure. Like, war is going to happen. Yeah, I'll grant that. Like, that's human nature. We're going to fight over land, and survival and expansion of some. Like, I get it. That type of stuff is going to happen. But genocide, it doesn't seem natural, or just like butchering of thousands of people because they think a different thing. That's not natural.
Right.
Like, there's something extra going on there, and it seems like something that statism and religion supply that otherwise you would not have a rational impulse for. I mean, like the Spanish Inquisition, without government or religion, there's no way something like that would happen. Like, why would people bother? It'd just be a waste of time. Like, and the other thing I think is that the people who are in charge of these things, I don't think they necessarily believe the things they're preaching. I think they just realize what a successful tool religion can be. Like, I don't think al-Baghdadi was really necessarily a devout Muslim. And I don't think Mike Pompeo is a devout Christian. Like, I don't,
Nope.
I don't really think they are. I think they just realize that they have a lot of power using those tools, and so they use them.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. And we've seen the fall of so many prominent Christians over the last couple of years. I fucking loved watching oh shit, what was his name? I'm gonna space the guy, the president of Liberty University, Jerry Falwell Jr. I remember I was working for Yale when that shit happened, and I was talking to my boss, who like actually kind of knew like friends of his. Like, he doesn't know Jerry, but like has mutual friends, and was just like not even a little bit surprised. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, really? You're gonna spend your entire life like shaming kids for being sexually active, and meanwhile you're out here like watching people fuck your wife and paying them for it? Like, what?
Yeah, no, it's weird. Like, when people like that I've never had any respect for, that I've always known are frauds, it's hilarious when that happens to them, or when it happens to some like Catholic priest or something. I think it's kind of funny. But did you know Ravi Zacharias growing up at all? Did you ever listen?
A little bit.
Did you hear what happened with him like a month ago?
No.
Oh God, yeah. So he died about a year ago, but about a month ago they found out that he has been involved in like multiple secret sex scandals, like pervasive throughout his life. It wasn't like isolated incidents. It was all the time.
What?
Yeah. And I grew up respecting that guy, like, because he was someone I listened to as a kid, and he was logical. He wasn't one of these like super emotional Pentecostal, people wailing at the pulpit all the time. Like, he was someone who kind of operated out of logic, and I respected him. So like, when I heard that wasn't one of those moments where I was like, ha ha ha. It was actually just like, yikes. It was just like, wow, that that's nuts. I mean, yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, one of the things that contributed very heavily to my first like walk away from the faith. So, I mentioned that like I got really back into my faith in 2019. That was kind of like a rebound back into it. I spent like 2 or 3 years kind of like agnostic, like somewhere in the middle of just like, I basically believed in God, but didn't want to be a follower of him because I thought he was a dick. Was kind of like where I was
understandable reading his book. So
right. So But my youth pastor, who is one of like the most influential people in my life from about the age of like 15 to 19 or so, resigned because of an affair that like became public, and that hit hard because I was just like, okay, if this guy, and it wasn't just the fact that he was my youth pastor and that he like taught me a lot about my faith. I looked up to him in almost every single way. Like I wanted to be him when I grew up. I loved his wife. I loved his kids. Like I thought he had the perfect life. Like I wanted to be him. And then when that happened, I was just like blown away. I didn't like instantly, like that's not what made me leave the faith. Like it didn't have that much of an effect on me. That would be a stupid reason to leave, I think, like one person. But that was when I was really like, okay, the like even the best of the best are still fucked up. So it's not even worth anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had he wasn't a youth pastor, but he was like one of our Sunday school teachers from when I was an older kid, like when I was in high school. I think it was the summer after I graduated. It was the summer I graduated. So I graduated that spring. That summer, he shot himself, killed himself, and it was he wasn't by any stretch like someone you look up to in every respect. He was actually kind of a rough individual, but we all really loved him a lot and thought he was great. And he had a lot of testimony about how, God had turned him around and really changed his life and given him purpose. And then he shot himself. And that was kind of what made me table everything for a while. So that would have been in 2012. And I didn't touch anything. Like I just put everything on the shelf, said, I'm not going to think about religion. I'm not even really going to think about politics, like anything. The entirety of the rest of 2012 and then like all of 2013, all I was doing was working. I got my CDL, was driving for a lumber company, and then started working at the power line company. And I just was working all the time, wasn't thinking about anything. Until 2014, I started opening the can back up again. But that really, like, I don't know. It didn't really make me mad. It just confused me. I was just like, wow, this guy was talking about how much his life has been changed. And then he just takes it like that. It made me question what else should I believe that people are saying here, about their testimonies or whatever. Like, what do I take seriously now?
Jesus. Yeah, it's definitely, I think rooting your life in any form of philosophy like that is just going to be a recipe for disaster. Basically, what I came down to for me, where I was kind of in the middle, like before I actually like dropped the name, like the term Christian last year. Basically, I was like, I believe this, but I'm not going to base my life off of the answer of an unanswerable question, which is like, how do we get here and what happens when we leave? Like, if you're basing your life off of the answer to one of those two questions, you're like, just no, like, stop. Like, you don't know. You might be right. Like, you have no idea. So,
yeah.
Don't base your life off of that. Base your life off of ideals like love your neighbor as yourself. Like if that's what you're basing your life off of, perfect. Love it. Keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was it's funny you say that, because actually after I left my faith and I started trying to build from the ground up, I started really studying evolution and the origin of species and the Big Bang Theory and all that. And I realized, like, why am I basing my morality on this? Like, this is still pretty unproven, some of this stuff, like, I mean, I believe in evolution, but the idea of like when it started and how it started, all that stuff is pretty friggin' hypothetical. So if I'm going to base my belief system off of something that intangible, then it's basically a religion, right? Like the way, I mean, I came to the conclusion, like, I've just got to base what I believe off of what I can personally experience and see and what makes sense, So like the non-aggression principle is actually like the greatest thing ever made, in my opinion, because it's just like, it's observable, it works, and it protects everybody's.
So it's so simple.
Yeah, it's like.
Yeah, I definitely, that's why I've started looking more into like the kind of Eastern religion, and what I really like is it's called Philosophy Chill Step is what you search for on YouTube to find like what I've been listening to. But it's a bunch of people like Alan Watts and Terence McKenna and like Carl Sagan and Ram Dass and like a whole bunch of other like modern philosophers with like really awesome chill step music in the background. And you just kind of like, especially when I was living with Livy and Dimitri, we just had that shit going in the background like all day. And it's just like a constant, just seeps into your brain, and you're just like, you stop and listen. And they're all basically libertarians, especially Terence McKenna is like a huge libertarian. Like he talks constantly about how government is like the worst, and every time it touches anything, it fucks it up. And like, it's funny. I tweeted a quote of his the other day, and I got a bunch of shit for it because one of my favorite quotes of his is, "Government is for the convenience of the people." Mm-hmm. And taken out of context, that sounds like I'm a naive moron. So like a lot of people shat on me for that. But when I explained like the context of that quote, because he's talking about like government is for our convenience, like it's not the other way around. Like hold them accountable to this. Like this is some fucked up shit. What we do in America is some fucked up shit. Like they're supposed to be serving us. What are we doing? That's the context. So I love it. And it just like it's bred like everything that I believe kind of together into, just spiritual mysticism, like believing that being a good person is a good idea, and that there's like an energy out there to like absorb and tap into and learn about. But, it's not all about like what happens when you die. Like, fuck it, something, who knows? Like, just make it a good time till then.
Yeah. Something that really turned me off, because it was simultaneous to my journey away from Christianity, was just like the Trump love from the Christians. Like I just couldn't rectify it. I was like, what the hell? I mean, it was so weird. And it just made me realize like, wow, you guys don't have much moral standing here. Like you don't have a moral high ground. Because when the left does stuff like that, when they fall for Barack Obama or Bernie Sanders or whatever, it's just like, yeah, that figures. But at this time in my life, I was still considering Christianity to be the moral high ground. And so seeing all these evangelicals just start simping for Donald Trump, and then the other guy they were simping for was Ted Cruz,
right?
I was just like, what? Like I want nothing to do with this. That really pissed me off. And then like the continued defense of Trump and just like the GOP and the Republican whatever over the last 4 years is just like, I don't know if you're aware, if you're familiar with like Franklin Graham, Billy Graham's son.
Oh yeah.
He was someone that I had respect for growing up. Like we used to donate shoe boxes full of toys to go overseas for Operation Christmas Child.
Oh yeah.
Seeing him go hardcore for Trump, and then like Bill Johnson from out west, you know him too, or
yeah.
Yeah,
like, yeah, you're hitting all of these names. Like I was right there with you. That coincided with my first walk away also. Like that was a big push out of like nope, this is fucked up.
Yeah, and not necessarily just because it was Trump. If they'd been doing that for Bernie or Hillary, I would have been just as mortified. It was just the fact they were doing it for a slimy politician and a corrupt political party. I was just like, I mean,
I honestly would have been better. I would have given pause if it was Bernie. If the evangelical crowd backed up Bernie Sanders, I would have actually been on board for that, because Bernie is like, I mean, he's a politician, and he's full of shit half the time, but I believe that he's a good person, first of all. Like, I really believe that he believes what he believes, and I think he actually thinks that his moronic policies are good for people. He's a moron, but like, I think he fully believes that, and so I kind of give him like a little bit of a pass, just on a moral base, not a political base. And like, he's trying to like spread the wealth and care for people, and like do a thing that like almost sounds Christian-y. Like, Christian communism makes more sense than Christian like national authoritarian Republican bullshit. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, if the evangelical crowd went hard for Bernie Sanders, I would have been like, all right, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't like the evangelical crowd going for any political party or any politician. It just like,
yeah.
But I mean, they do all the time, and it's not like it was new. 2016 wasn't a phenomenon. They loved George W. Bush. They worshipped him. They loved Mitt Romney at the time. They loved John. I mean, they love all of them. Like, it's not like it was a sudden new thing. But I was just at an age where I was more aware of it. And I had a few principled Christian friends who realized that, Jesus would be apolitical. Like, Jesus would not give a shit about who was president. He wouldn't care if the government was shooting people in the street. He would just be like, don't worry about it. What's the condition of your heart? Follow me. Like, that's what he would say. Like, there'd be people there'd be like death squads 100 feet away just murdering 100 people. And, they'd be like, Jesus, are you going to do something? And he'd be like, worry about the condition of your soul, not the person who can kill you here on earth. Like, he wouldn't be some wild-eyed revolutionary. He wouldn't be a libertarian. He wouldn't be a Republican, wouldn't be a Democrat, wouldn't be a socialist. Like, he'd be like an anarcho-communist hippie who didn't care about power imbalance at all. Like, he wouldn't advocate for any government solutions. He would just go around telling people, hey, repent of your sins, follow me, give all your possessions away. Like, that's all he would be doing right now. And everyone would hate him. No one would like him. Absolutely everyone would hate him, just like back then.
Right. You're 100% right. I love hammering people with that shit, because I'm sure you do too, but like, I still have a whole bunch of Christian friends that are still like super Trump, like deep throat that boot. And I'm like, you realize, like, I love there's been like a bunch of posts around all sorts of social media for quite some time of like, Jesus was like a brown immigrant that like, like blah, 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 all of that shit that like Republicans hate. And it's accurate as shit. Like, everything that the Republican evangelical crowd hates right now is everything that Jesus was. But also the people on the left try to use him like, oh, he wanted to like give to the poor. And he's like, yeah, but he wasn't like about taxing people out of existence to give to the poor. He was about like people just giving up their possessions and giving them to the poor. Like, you don't need government for that. You just need to be a good person. Like, the idea that like, well, I want to keep what I have, but let's make these people over here pay for, so I can make myself feel good. That's not Christian either. It's the exact opposite.
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the thing that's I actually think like Christianity is actually immoral because of this, but self-defense is not a Christian teaching at all, or even defending other people is not, maybe like throwing your body in front of a bullet to stop it from hitting someone else. Like, okay, that's Christian, but shooting some guy who's murdering 100 people with a machine gun, like, you're not supposed to do that. Like, that's not Christian. Like, Christianity, if you read the text, the current life is pretty meaningless. Like, the actual fact that you're alive and breathing, the importance of this life is like what you do to influence others and what your relationship with God is like the fact that you are alive and breathing doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if anyone else is alive and breathing either. So like you're not, you know, the idea of like the non-aggression principle isn't Christian, because you know it's once aggression is aimed at you, if you're a Christian, you're supposed to kind of just accept it and be like, okay, God's will be done. You know, vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. You know, like it's not anything that you're gonna do. And so like no one would like Jesus at all. Everyone would hate him. And I don't really like him either because some of that stuff, you know, like I mean, I don't know. It's weird with Jesus. Like I respect the guy, you know, like
turn the other cheek, Reed.
Yeah, I know. Like I do respect him, but I don't think that the laws of Christianity work in a society unless everyone follows them. Like once you have someone stepping out of line, God is supposed to take care of it. You know, that's the recourse. Like, I mean, there's there's nothing you can do about someone who's aggressive toward you. You've just got to kind of accept it. And, you know, and if you're, the other thing I don't like about the teaching is, you know, people act like, I hate this from a bunch of like New Age Christians because they say, oh, no, that's the Old Testament is judgmental. We only care about the New Testament and Jesus. And I say, Jesus talks about hell more than he talks about heaven. Like Jesus definitely believed in hell. He talks about it all the time. And it was his biggest warning to everyone whenever they wanted him to like take on the oppressive state or anything. He would say, hey, don't worry about the oppressive state. Don't worry about I forget what verse it is, but it's like, do not worry about the man who can destroy your body. Fear the one who can destroy your soul for eternity in hell. You know, like that was his big thing, was like, hell is real. Hell exists. You all deserve to go there. And the only way out is through following me. You know, and I don't know, a lot of these like progressive Christians like to just forget that part or just ignore it or something, you know, and it's like, it's a big part.
Yeah, like the thing that I like to point out for a lot of people, because they kind of forget, is like, if you really read it, Jesus got murdered for not being political enough.
Yeah.
Like that's why the Jews killed him. They thought he was going to be a revolutionary and super political, and he was not. So trying to co-opt him for your political bullshit, you're nothing. You're doing the exact same thing that the Jews did and then killed him. Like,
yeah, no, that's a good point. I mean, it was the church that wanted him dead, but you're right. Like the Jews would have embraced him if he was a revolutionary, and they didn't. So they were just like, yeah, fuck it. Like, who cares? So,
well, yeah, because they thought the Messiah was going to like free them. So he didn't free them, so he couldn't have been the Messiah. Like, the hate started with him like being like, nah, dude, your political bullshit is all you. Like, I'm here for, like you said, I'm here for the souls. Like,
it's totally true, because that's what the, you know,
I
like
to think of Jesus as a stoner that was like going around selling weed, just like being like, bro, love thy neighbor, bro.
Don't worry about the Romans, man. It's all good. I mean, you're totally right, though, that the lefties who try to act like Jesus would be on their side, they kind of forget that Jesus wasn't on anyone's side, like other than his own. Like, I mean, like you see those bumper stickers, Jesus would get real, like Jesus would ever be a gun-owning Republican. It's like, yeah, no, he wouldn't, but he wouldn't be a liberal with a pussy hat either. Like, he just doesn't care.
Nope.
He doesn't give a shit. Like, he literally doesn't give a shit if the government is murdering you. That's Jesus. That's who he is. Like, he doesn't care. That's not what matters. And people like don't like to hear that, but it's kind of true. Like, he didn't care that the government was murdering him either. Like, the government murdering people was just like not a priority of his at all.
Nope.
Like, his goal was to be murdered by the government. Like that was why he came here, sort of, you know? Yeah.
So one of the reasons why I've been really leaning into like these Eastern religions is because I noticed something kind of weird. And that's that like someone in a Christian mindset cannot explain Buddhism. Like they can't explain why that exists and like why people believe that and why those stories are those stories. A Buddhist, however, can read the Bible and be like, yeah, this is all right. It's just a little bit mistaken, like in a couple of places, like some people embellished, like, but the rest, like all of this makes sense. They can like explain away the bullshit as like something that happens throughout history all over the place. Like people get turned into deities through lore. Like,
Yeah.
look at any other religion that we've disproven over time. Like most of those people were real. Like like a lot of the Greek heroes are real people that existed and their stories got embellished. So looking at Jesus like that as just somebody that we deified as humans over the last 2000 years is really normal. And then everything else he said lines up almost perfectly with Buddhism. Like Jesus was a Buddha and that who got deified. And that just makes sense to Buddhists. But you can't explain it the other way around. Like,
Yeah,
a
because
Christian can't allow a Buddhist to exist.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, because they're so absolutist. Like he's the way and the truth and the life. There is no way to the Father but through him. Like, I mean, it's all so exclusionary. You can't read the Bible and take it literally and then believe in any other religion. Like, you just can't because it's so precise and so exact and so specific.
Yeah. Which is why I really liked, I think my path towards that mentality started with Tulsi and a couple other people on her campaign, because I met a couple of people that considered themselves Hindu Christians. And I was like, ooh, what is this? It's like the base ideology of Hinduism with like a little Christian flavoring in there. So like that's who you pray to. Like you pray to Jesus and God and like you read the Bible a little bit, but like that's just kind of your flavor of Hinduism. And I'm like, I kind of like that because I get to keep all of my traditions. You know, I still get to celebrate Christmas and everything, and like even care about the like the tradition of it and like celebrating Jesus's birth because like he was a good guy that like we should celebrate a little bit. Like I'm okay with that. And that definitely like started me down that path of like how that crossover was easier if you switched your brain around to like the base of Hinduism, and then you can throw kind of whatever else you want in there. You can be a Jewish Hindu or a Christian Hindu or a Muslim Hindu, you know, like all of those are a thing. And I've met a bunch of them over the last year. It's interesting and I liked it, and now I'm past that. It's kind of like libertarianism into anarchy. You know, you like you sit in the middle ground for a little bit until you're just like, nah, fuck it.
Yeah, taking the plunge is always worth it. It's way more relieving. I mean, because you got all these like questions burning into your brain, and you're just like, I don't want to think about those things. I don't want to ever admit I'm. And then it's like, yeah, fuck it, I'm here. Whatever, who cares? I mean, it was like, I don't know if you saw my video I put out. I said I think I'm an anarchist, but I compared it to when I decided, yeah, I am an atheist, because it's just like you don't want to admit it. Like you want to hold on to what you've been taught matters so much your whole life, because you've been taught that government has to be there too. Just like, you know, just like whatever religion you're brought up with, you're taught that it's real and that you need it, that without it, humanity will fail. Same thing with government. And then when you just get to that final threshold where you just like step through the door, then you're just like, oh, why was I worried about like stepping through this door? You know, that it's like the question of like, it's like, oh, duh. Yeah, of course, this is where I'm supposed to be. You know, it's just like, it was funny how similar a feeling it was.
Yeah. Like you said, taking the plunge is always kind of worth it. I would encourage other people to do the same, you know, just kind of like, just see what it feels like to just kind of throw all of your base ideologies out the window for just like a half a second and just think for just like a little bit and be like, okay, what do you not want to bring back in? Because some of those things are going to feel relieving right from the get-go. Like if you just kind of like dump it, hit like empty recycle bin, just dump it all for like 5 minutes and think, you're going to be happy about some of those things. You're going to be like, oh, wow, I'm so glad that's gone. But there's going to be plenty of that's like, no, but that one still makes sense.
Right.
and it's pretty easy to identify the stuff that has just been weighing you down for years, and you don't have to bring it back.
Yeah, dude, hell.
It's fine.
Like the idea of hell. I mean, that's so terrible. Like, I mean, it's such bullshit. First of all, like if you think about it, it's just like, wait, what is it I'm believing in that because I think a few certain things that are different than how this other guy thinks them, I'm going to be burned alive for eternity and tortured and, you know, like, it's just like, what? Like, of course that's fucking bullshit. Of course that's something that someone made up to subjugate people and scare them into submission. Like, of course. So when you like throw that idea out, oh God, I mean, it's just like it's such a relief because it's so dumb. I mean, it's so obviously manufactured, but it really scares the shit out of a lot of people and me for a while, you know? And the other thing I realized though is like most people don't believe in hell. Most religious people, they don't really believe in hell. Because if you really believe in hell, you're either a shit individual if you're not just constantly evangelizing and trying to save people, or you don't really believe it. Like I mean, if I saw someone walking into a building that I knew was going to collapse on him, I would do everything I could, including like knocking him out to keep him from going into that building because I know it's going to collapse and kill him. So you're talking about like something temporary, just like, I mean, not temporary, but he's dead forever. But the death is temporary. Like he just dies and it's over. You're talking about something pretty quick. And compare that to like the idea of eternal damnation, just burning alive forever, being tormented for not for a billion years, not for a trillion years, not for 100 trillion years, but for literally forever. You believe that's going to happen to most of the people who are alive because they don't have the right information and believe the right thing.
Right.
You haven't asked the right person for the right God for forgiveness. Like you had better be out there doing everything you can to save them, or you're a piece of shit.
Right. Yeah, that was something that really pushed me out in the beginning. Was I've always been kind of an absolutist. That's something that I've struggled with a lot of my life. I'm really obsessive over things, whether that's like TV shows or video games or the girl that I'm with or the class that I really like or the career path that I'm on. Like I used to be really obsessive over most things. And so I was like, I need to either be a missionary or I need to stop pretending that I believe this stuff. You know, if I'm not out there all day, every day doing this, and I didn't feel comfortable doing that, I was like, I don't think that that's right because I'm a libertarian and I don't like pushing ideals on other people. So I'm like, if I can't be out there just like screaming at people to be saved, like all day, every day, just like shaking them to wake them up, being like, dude, like I needed to stop. And that's kind of that was really what triggered the final, like, let go, was just like, I need to be all or nothing. And I chose nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember watching a video in church, and I think this might've been 2012, like earlier on in 2012, right around the time I graduated. So pretty much at the end of the days, I had to still go to church. But, I remember watching a video and this guy was saying that like 90% of humanity is instantly damned to hell because they just will never hear the gospel and there's no way for them to repent. So it's just a pipeline straight to hell. He was talking about like India and like out in the jungle in Asia and, you know, a bunch of African countries where it's just impossible to even get the word out there. All those people are just going straight to hell and there's nothing we can do about it. So it's just about reaching like the 5% of people we can. And I was like, what benevolent God who knows the future would create a planet where he knows that 90% of the people on the planet are going to just be burning for eternity? Like what? He'd be more merciful to just never create us in the first place if he knew that was the case.
Right.
He would just not do it. He'd just like, say, okay, we're canceling this plan. Like this sucks. We're just gonna start over. Like, you know,
just yeah.
like, I mean, I don't care. I don't give a shit how good heaven is. If you've got 5% of the people going to heaven and it's great, and there's golden sidewalks and there's a rainbow over a emerald lake or whatever, and you get a mansion, and he says, "Well done."
77 virgins.
Yeah, well, that's a different a different book.
I like that book better.
But like, I don't give a shit how good heaven is for the 5%. If 95% are just automatically doomed because they don't hear the right words and they're just going to be fucking burned forever. Like, that was like when I first, maybe not even first, but I remember that was like a big step where I was like, I don't really believe in this hell stuff. Like, I don't think that's how it, or it may, if there is a hell, the way you would end up there has to be way more nuanced and way broader than what we understand. Like, we've definitely boxed it into this little concept. Like, maybe like, yeah, it makes sense that someone like Hitler might end up there or something, but just someone who doesn't hear the right words, like, it's just a blanket punishment. Now it's like, it really stopped making sense to me.
Yeah, I always believed that, like, if you didn't have the opportunity to get saved, that you still went to heaven. Kind of like that age of understanding thing. Like, if a kid dies who like didn't have the ability to understand, I always believed that, like, the people that are like in the jungles in Asia or like Africa that like have never heard anything about Jesus, I always believed that they still went to heaven. But like, that's not really in the Bible.
All have sinned and fall short of the glory of God.
Right. Yeah.
Death.
That was definitely a double think kind of thought process, because like it's not in the Bible anywhere. But like, I just believed it because it made me feel better.
I think it is Second Opinions 3:23. People who don't hear the Bible go to heaven.
Second Opinions.
Well, here's on that note, though. I actually got into a discussion with someone like that about this a couple years ago. He's very pro-life because he's a Christian, and I was like, but he believes what you were just saying, like the age of understanding, basically. So I was like, dude, you should be 100% pro-choice if that's your belief, because then those souls don't have to risk being damned because they're good. Like if you're an unborn child, you are definitely not able to understand anything. So if you believe they just go straight to heaven, you should be like advocating for abortions everywhere, because then they can't you should be for like sterilization and as many abortions as possible, because then then it's a pipeline straight to heaven. I mean, it's perfect. Like, it's the opposite of, the guy in India who never hears the word or whatever. Like, yeah, that always like really confused me. Like, these people who believe that, aren't you doing a good service if you send someone straight to heaven, like without the possibility of them falling away from God? And you
make a really compelling point that I've never thought of before.
Yeah, seriously. Like, if you actually believe, especially if you think that 95% of the people who walk the earth go to hell, then you should be like the biggest abortion fan ever, because you're saving them from a 95% certainty of burning alive for eternity,
Man, I guess I really am a bad Christian because I'm kind of pro-life.
I'm just saying, like, because I don't think banning abortions accomplishes anything, but I'm personally like very pro-life, and I think abortion's terrible. But it's because I believe you're killing, I think you're killing a human, and I think that human is just dead forever. I don't believe in heaven, so I don't think you're just like shipping a soul straight to heaven. So I actually care, and I like, that's why I'm for, access to contraceptives and sex education and adoption, all those types of things, because I think abortions are absolutely terrible. And if there were a way I could snap my fingers and make them stop, I would. But I just don't think that there's an effective way to outlaw. I mean, it's just like drugs or guns or illegal immigration, whatever. But
It's never going to work.
I do really care about abortions ending because I think it is terrible and it's a human that's dying and doesn't have a chance. But if I actually believed I just laid it out. Like if I believed in heaven and hell and that you had like a 95% chance of going to hell if you were born, then I would, maybe you'd be conflicted about it because you'd still think it's killing someone, but you'd be like, I know I'm technically supposed to be against this, but I mean, all these kids are just going straight to heaven. So,
right. You'd have to like cheer when a school bus crashes or something like that. It's like, nice, 25 souls straight to heaven, no questions asked.
I mean, if you love your
man, this episode got dark, Quack. like what the fuck?
I mean, you would like, I don't know what the age of consent is, or the age of understanding is. I don't know what the age
of Freudian slip there, buddy.
Yeah, that's going to be taken out of context and posted on Twitter for sure. The age of understanding. Oh, God. Yeah, this video is going downhill fast.
It's a good thing it's live, so you can't edit it out.
Yeah, I know. The age of understanding, whatever that is, like I have no idea what age people think you understand heaven, because it was a constant evolution on my part. But right. Whatever that age is, if you love your kids, you'd want them to die before they reach that. Like you'd be like, I know it's 0 degrees. Just go outside with no clothes on. You'll be fine. Like, I don't know. I mean, seriously though, like, if you
fucking dead.
Dude, it's true though. Like, I mean, if you actually believe all this demonic shit happens to people who die, then you would want people to die before they could reach that stage of viability for hell or whatever, like.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. And especially if you look at the statistics of like how many people walk away from their faith in college, it's like, yeah, fuck it up before then. Like,
I mean, yeah, like if you led someone to the Lord, you'd want to have a gun in your back pocket. So like as soon as they accept him, you can just pop them off and then there's nothing to worry about. You don't have to worry about them like falling away from their faith, because otherwise, like if they live 50 more years, there's a good chance they're going to stray, and then you've failed. So like, I don't know.
Oh my God.
The thought.
I mean, yeah. So this is why you shouldn't be a Christian, because if you're gonna be a good Christian, you have to be a serial killer. Be a libertarian, Gnostic instead. It's better. I've talked a lot on the show about like libertarian philosophy on my show, and I think we've actually talked about this on your show before too, of like the crossover between my religious views and political views. And it's like, it really is the same shit. It's like, be a good fucking person. Right. If you're trying and always try to be a better person. Like that's the important part. That's right. The thing that all of the philosophies share is like actively be trying to be better. And as long as you're trying to be better, it's okay, because nobody's perfect. And that's what it's all about. It's not about like being right. It's not about telling other people they're wrong. It's not about getting to be like, yeah, they're gonna spend eternity in hell. Fuck that guy. You like the only reason that I would be want to believe in hell is so that I would know that John McCain is there.
There's no hell, but John McCain is in hell. Like,
yes,
he gets a special exception. Like he's
right. Christianity like became real just for John McCain.
But what if he apologized like 2 seconds before he died? What if he really meant it, Dave? Like really was sorry? Can you deny him? I mean, if he's really sorry and he means it in his heart, he's good.
Nope.
Dude, what if Hitler, like 2 seconds before he crunched the cyanide pill and blew his brains out? Like, what if he apologized? What if he was like, Jesus, I'm really sorry. That was a bad move the last, like couple decades of my life. I shouldn't have been doing that. I mean,
he's like, wait, Jesus was a Jew. Huh.
Yeah,
that's confusing.
Exactly. I guess I'm on the wrong side here. And then he just he just realizes the sinfulness of his ways and apologizes. And then he's, then he's gone and he's good. I mean, but then some Jew in a concentration camp that gets shot believes in the wrong God, so they go to hell. It's like, something doesn't add up here. I mean, this is, it's the one size fits all approach. Just like we talk about politics. Like once you start thinking that way with how people go to their afterlife, it can get pretty fucking ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just stupid.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. I don't even have anything to add to that. Like the one size fits all approach doesn't fucking work. No. Like, everyone has a different skill set. Everyone has a different baseline ideology. Everyone has different experiences. Everyone has different loves and hatreds and prejudices, and the prejudices are wrong and the hatreds are wrong. But like, if we like, everyone's a little fucked up. Everyone has their own flavor of fucked up, and everyone has their own flavor of awesome. Some people don't have a very strong awesome flavor. We know some people like that. I think Hitler falls into that category. He didn't have very many awesome flavors. He did have a pretty good fashion sense. I'll give him that. The Nazi uniforms, dope. Loved them. That like all black leather look was like way ahead of his time. He would have been fit right in America in the 80s. So like, got to give him props for that. Basically nothing else. Yeah. But like, just try to have as many good flavors as you can and try to like just be good.
Yeah, we've got a very relevant comment. Money out of politics, overturn Citizen United and Medicare for all. That is very relevant to the conversation we're having right now. So thank you, Jordan Lott, for that input. We appreciate it.
Money out of politics, yes. Overturn Citizens United, I don't know enough about. Medicare for all, no.
Yeah, and by the way, Citizens United is such like it's a distraction. We're getting onto politics here, but Citizens United, like overturning Citizens United does not get money out of politics. It's so dumb. It was one Supreme Court decision about playing an advertisement. So if you overturn it, like it doesn't undo fucking jack shit. Like I don't know why people talk about that so much, but anyway, that's a whole different episode.
Jack shit. Oh my God. No chill in this episode at all. This really is the fight for truth. Like,
it is. Yeah, I mean, I like what you said, like be a good person. Being a good Muslim or a good Christian or a good Jew, like that's not being a good person. Like, I mean, it's funny, like people, I've read a bit of the Quran, and most people think that like the Quran, that Islam is way worse than Christianity.
It's not.
I mean, the only difference now is that there are just way more fundamentalist Muslims than there are fundamentalist Christians. Like if you're a fundamentalist Christian, you can, I mean, if you read the Bible and you believe everything in it, it could definitely drive you to do some crazy shit, and it's just that most Christians don't actually believe everything. Like they don't believe in hell. I don't think most Christians actually believe in hell. I think most Muslims, or I don't know about most, but a lot of Muslims really do believe in hell, and they really do believe they're going to get 72. I mean, so it's just like it's a more adolescent religion. It hasn't been around as long. It's still going through its dark ages. Like Christianity sort of already went through it. So now we just have a bunch of moderate Christians who don't really believe anything in the book, and they just go to church on Sunday and then have a cookout and put a cross in their window, and like that's being a Christian now.
Or they put a cross in other people's yards and then light them on fire.
Yeah, they do that. So some of the Christians do that. Those ones,
Yeah,
we don't associate with those Christians. So, like, if you're one who just wants to barbecue and go to church once a week or whatever, like, you're cool with me. If you're burning crosses, not so cool.
That is not the right kind of barbecue, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God!
Burn steaks, not crosses.
Oh my God!
This episode is gonna get cut up so many different ways and distributed.
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
I mean,
God.
now that I've been, hanging out with the Mises Caucus people, they're gonna try to. I'm gonna get the Mises treatment. They're gonna just like take little tiny pieces that are completely out of context, and then as if
I just complimented the Nazi uniform, so that's not gonna go well.
Yeah, well, you're right though. Like, the bad guys always look cool. Why is that?
Right.
It's not fair.
Right.
I mean, you are totally right. Like, they had the fashion sense down. Even their flag like looks cool. Like everything. Their like
black and red. It's my colors for my channel. Like, fuck yeah.
They were sharp. And then you look at like the French soldiers, and you're just like, what? Like these. I mean, the American soldiers in World War II did look pretty cool. I think like that was our like industrial war, like our first like big time mass production. Like our tanks were fucking badass, but like
I'd rather wear a Roman like centurion uniform, just like a robe with nothing on underneath, and just like a belt around it and a like dope ass helmet, and just charge like. Just
yeah.
Fuck
I mean, Star Wars, the bad guys are way cooler looking. I mean, if you compare the stormtroopers to the guys like wearing buckets on their heads in the fucking ship when they blow the door up, it's just like, huh? Like, the bad guys definitely have the cooler outfits there. I mean, not even.
Oh yeah. And the red lightsabers are way cooler.
Yeah.
Would have had a red lightsaber, even if I was a Jedi. But let's be real, I would have been a Sith because like Count Dooku is awesome, and like most of the Jedis are pussies.
Yeah, no, most of them are. They kind of suck. I mean, this can be a little tangent we go off on. Like
Star Wars is a great tangent to go on, though.
It's like I was way into Star Wars when I was a kid, but now I only like 2 of them, or 3 of them. 3 of them are good. Like I like. Well, let's rank them. Like, are we counting Rogue One and Solo? I haven't seen Solo,
yeah.
But
yeah, let's count those because I'm a big fan of those 2. Actually,
I haven't seen Solo, so I
would recommend.
After The Last Jedi, I said I wasn't going to watch any of them anymore, and then I was on an airplane and they had the whatever episode 9 was. The Rise of Skywalker, and to my chagrin, I ended up watching it. But I
watched that in New Hampshire with Tulsi people, with like Nietzsche and Satya and like the gang. That was a good time.
Nice. Well, you had to have a good time because it wasn't a good movie. So, but I would rank them. Empire is the best, and then I like Star Wars or Episode 4 or whatever. A New Hope. Second, then Rogue One. Wow. After that, it gets tough. I'd actually say Revenge of the Sith, and then Return of the Jedi, and then Attack of the Clones,
and then Episode 1.
Well, maybe Episode 7 before Episode 1. Like that's a toss up. Like they're so bad. I don't know. Like yeah. So what's Episode 7? The Force Awakens, right?
Yeah.
I guess I barely put that above Episode 1.
That one wasn't too bad.
It was just so unoriginal. There was nothing new about it. It was just like a remake of A New Hope, basically. But yeah, so I'd put it like right there, and then Episode 1, and then I guess The Rise of Skywalker, and then The Last Jedi definitely goes on the bottom. Like that one cannot be on the bottom enough. Like that one is so bad. I almost walked out of the theater watching it. I was like, this is so. And after I watched it, I said, okay, I'm done with Star Wars. Like I'm not watching any other. I just happened to be a plane where they were playing The Rise of Skywalker, so I watched it.
Yeah, I put episode 3 pretty high up on the list because I watched that one often. I owned it on DVD. It was the first DVD that I owned personally, and so I used to watch it on like every work, like all the time. I got a portable DVD player, and like that was my go-to. It was like that or like Sky High.
Yeah.
And so that one ranks pretty high up. I think it goes like episode 6, then episode 3, then probably episode 2. I don't know why. I always liked. It's like the boring one, but it ends really cool because episode 3 is supposed to be about this awesome war, and it's really not about the war. Like episode 2 is where you actually get some of that like. Yeah. Armies attacking each other, like big battle scenes, like that shit is what I really liked. And like the big arena scene where there's just like a whole shit ton of Jedis and they're just fucking shit up, like that was awesome to me. And also I had the biggest crush on Natalie Portman growing up, so like all of the scenes of that, like,
Natalie Portwoman, like watch your careful there.
But I pulled this down because this book is still on my bookshelf, like with all the important stuff. I have a book called The Jedi Path, and it's supposed to be like the handbook for the Jedi. But it's interesting because it's like supposed to be the copy that was handed down from like the important characters, right? So it has like notes and like scribbled out stuff and like people's jotting in the side. Everybody from like Yoda to Luke.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awesome. I love it. It's a great book.
See,
Dave also lines up with everything.
Dave Smith has like Anatomy of the State and like the Great Ron Paul and that type of stuff on his bookshelf, and then you have the Jedi Path.
This fell down while I was grabbing it, so like next to Ayn Rand.
That's good.
Yeah, there's that. Most of my libertarian books aren't up there because they're like by my bed because I'm reading them.
No. Well, see, you're a libertarian in action. You're not just showing.
Yes.
So
I do have the Social Contract somewhere up here.
There you go.
I don't remember where it is. It's on one of these bookshelves. Fuck it. I actually need to finish that, and then I need to read some Rothbard. That's next up on my list.
If you want to just get like red pilled really fast, go straight to Spooner. Just read Lysander Spooner. He's like,
you know what? I might actually start there.
Yeah, it's worth it. But I mean, if you no treason, Constitution of No Authority, you can read it in like 2 hours, super easily, and it just kind of blows your entire worldview on the Constitution out of the water. So,
I'm currently reading the Politically Incorrect Guide to the Constitution.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that a couple weeks ago.
So it's a fun book.
And they take a pretty similar stance, right? Like they're pretty critical of the Constitution, or
oh yeah, there are articles of the Confederation fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it starts out like James Madison's a fucking bitch, basically. It's like James Madison was sucking fucking Hamilton's dick and they fucked up the country together. It's like, not actually. It's not like that. It's not quite that politically incorrect. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Phil Labonte about that when he was on,
nice.
Basically saying that the Bill of Rights is really a Bill of Rights for the government. It basically tells you like, hey, the government can do everything except this, instead of, the rest of the Constitution was basically saying, hey, the government can only do this. And then for some reason, we need the Bill of Rights on top of it. Once you started adding the Bill of Rights, then you were saying, hey, actually, the government can basically do like everything except these few things.
Mm-hmm.
It's an interesting point, but
yeah, the 10th Amendment is like the most important thing people ignore. Man, we got into politics, but like
it's inevitable.
But I'll tie this back into religion.
All right, sweet. We'll segue back over again.
Yep, I got this. So the 10th Amendment it's all about like, if it doesn't specifically say that anything, than just like do your own shit. And I think we need to take that into consideration in the Bible and like the original texts, because like if it doesn't say anything about it, shut the fuck up.
My dad actually, he's a pretty devout Christian, and he used to say everything in the Bible is true, but not all truth is in the Bible. So, they're
I like that.
Cover everything. But he's kind of like, I don't know if I'd actually consider him a devout Christian anymore. He's an interesting soul. I don't really know what he thinks. It's kind of weird. When you have 3 sons who are atheists, your oldest daughter's gay, and your youngest daughter joined the military explicitly to kill people. She hasn't said that. Like, she hasn't like said, "Oh, I want to kill people," but she only wants to go into infantry, artillery. I forget what the others, but everything she wanted to go into, that's all you do is kill people. Like, she doesn't want to be a cook or an engineer or like a truck driver or anything. Like, no, like anything that we're shooting at people. So I was like, so that when that's what happens to your 5 kids, you sort of have to evolve a little bit. So
right. I've been talking to my parents the last couple of days because I'm just like, where did you guys go wrong? Like, how did you guys end up with me? Like, what happened that you ended up with a son that like doesn't believe in the Bible, like smokes hella weed, used to sleeps not. I don't sleep around, but like I had premarital sex and like don't intend on getting married anytime soon.
Straight to hell.
Like straight to hell. Like I am like the most damned to hell person in my family, and it's like, what did you guys do wrong? Or what did you guys do right that I can think for myself? Is actually kind of what I'm trying to figure out right now, because I don't know. I don't know how to like force my kids to think for themselves. Like how do you like push your ideals of no ideals onto people?
Yeah, I just had my dad on my show actually today.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, you'll have to check it out. But we weren't talking about religion. We were talking about because he's a public school teacher. So we were talking about the Department of Education, the NEA, the one size fits all approach. Like it's funny. Most people wouldn't expect my dad to be a public school teacher, but he won't join the local teachers union because he hates the federal teachers union. And he knows that 2/3 of his union dues would just go to the federal teachers union. He wants to abolish the Department of Education. So he's a based teacher, and he hates rubrics and, thinks that everything educators are doing is counter to actually trying to make people think or whatever. But at the end, I just said like, hey, just want to give you a chance to talk because I do shit talk the fuck out of the institutions that you made us go to when we were kids, like the church and, the GOP and like all this different stuff. But I know that you yourself don't support the institutions. You just were trying to give us a foundation. And so he talked about that and how when you have kids, you've got to give them something to stand on. And then it's their choice if they want to leave it or keep it. But I agree with him that just like raising kids and just telling them, hey, anything goes, it's not necessarily you're kind of doing them a disservice because I think that you're much more an environment of your upbringing than you are intrinsically yourself. A lot of people think like, oh, if I were born in 1560 in England, I'd be the same guy I am today. And it's like, probably not. Like you'd probably be very different. So I think bringing people up with important values is good. I wouldn't do it through religion, because I actually think religion is a pretty shaky foundation to put your house on. Because to me, this is the
nice religious reference to disreligions.
I know. On Christ the solid rock I stand. But whatever. Oh yeah, by the way,
Your channel should from now on just be you mockingly singing hymns. Like that's
dude, I know so many of them too. Like I was the worship team leader for like 3 years.
really.
Yes.
I did not know that about you.
I play piano, so I'd play piano and I'd sing. So I would kind of lead the songs. Oh yeah,
What?
dude.
How have we never talked about this? I was a worship leader too.
Really?
How has this never come up in conversation? Oh my god, we need to stop talking about politics so much.
I know. Did you feel the spirit moving? So you'd have to like repeat the chorus again. You know, that was the thing they always said. Like, if you feel the spirit moving, like make sure you repeat the chorus. Somehow I would never feel the spirit moving because I didn't want to be in church that long. So, you know, because I only had Sunday afternoon off. I worked like 6 days a week other than that. So I was like, you know, no, the spirit's not moving. Let's
just wrap this shit up.
Oh man. Well, let's go off on this tangent then, because holy shit, worship music, when I was the worship leader, at least, it sucked. Like they were, all the songs were super boring, super repetitive, super slow. Like, did you ever do Let It Rain? Let it rain, let it rain, open the floodgates of heaven. You know, and you do it like literally 42 times or something. Like,
oh my god! Honestly, no. Like when I was I was a worship leader. I led worship for my youth group, and I was on the band for like Sunday morning, and we sang some pretty based songs. Not gonna lie, like especially at youth group because I got to pick the music. So we were, and I was also on a worship team for another church that I didn't actually go to, but I was on their youth group's worship team just because they needed a guitarist. And that one was awesome. Like we were a legit band. Like we played a couple of like Christian music festivals like as that worship team because like we were fucking awesome. Like that was a great band. He taught me more about music than my guitar teacher did. Right. So we were playing like Christian rock at that youth group, and that was awesome. And like we were like actually saving kids and like keeping kids that would have been doing some fucked up shit with their evenings had they not been at church, like in church learning good things, and like they never would have had like that kind of environment to be in or learned those kinds of ideals any other way. And I know some of them still, and like they went down a path in life that like they never would have had the opportunity to if they didn't have a place to spend their Mondays and Friday nights that wasn't like just getting stoned in the parking lot of their like housing development. Like and like I was like really into it when I was that age. So yeah, I loved worship, and I like really actually felt it, and like it was a good time. And I struggled with the like performance mentality of it a lot, but for the most part it was like the most I've ever felt connected with other people like that is like leading them in something like that where they're like communicating with that whatever force, you know. Yeah, I still kind of look back on it nicely. I still listen to worship music because it's still nice, yeah, you know. Like
oh god, I'd shoot myself. Like what was your favorite song?
Oof. My favorite song.
Mine was probably Days of Elijah. That one was just fun.
Oh fuck yes!
Although the there is no God like Jehovah part kind of went on too much. It was like there's no God like Jehovah. There's no God like like 32 times. It's like okay, like let's just do it 16 times.
Right. Yeah, that one was fun. That one's fun on guitar too, because you get to it's got a really interesting strumming pattern if you want to play it like that. So it's like,
would you do the chorus like 5 times at the end all the time? Because
usually,
if you do the 4th chorus drum solo, ooh, that's fire. Like you get everyone hyped up, and then
my church hated the drums.
Yeah. Oh man, it was.
That was the worst part. All of my churches, except for that youth group band that I was mentioning, like the drummer had to keep chill, and it sucked.
Our drummer was always like half a beat off at least, which was sort of hard to work with. But like I was playing the piano, and I was keeping the rhythm. Like the drummer was following me, and I was just like, this isn't how this is supposed to work, but whatever.
Yeah. I think my favorite might have to be fuck. Like either I Am Free or Mighty to Save.
Yeah.
Like somewhere in that flavor was where I really like hit home. I'm not even sure what song it is, but there's a song where there's a line that's like, I lift my hands and spin around and see the light that I have found. That was my favorite shit because I played bass. And I can actually, bass is pretty easy to play, right? Like it's not that difficult of an instrument, especially if you know how to play guitar. So I can actually pick the bass up over my head and spin around and play because it's not that fucking hard.
So you do it with words. Yeah.
Yeah, that was like my favorite time. We sang that song way too often at youth group just so I could do that because I was picking the music, and my friend Natanya, who was the pianist and the other singer, like she loved the song too. So we just sang it like twice a month at least.
Yeah. The other one that was fun is Shout to the North. I like that one for some reason. Like I'm a baritone, so I like the Robin Mark songs. They're just easier to sing. Otherwise, like since I was the lead singer, sometimes we would like we'd play the songs in like F or something. It's just some like really dark key, just so that it was easier to sing. Like Amazing Grace, that one's hard. Like if you're doing the what's his the my chains are gone, I've been set free. That version. I'm trying to remember what the guy's name is.
Chris Tomlin.
Yeah. Yeah.
He actually just came out with a new album. I got the notification from Spotify earlier when I was on the phone. And I was just like, the fuck? I might actually have to check that out though, because just out of pure curiosity, like what's he up to now? Like what's his mind at? Where's his mind at? I'm curious. 2020 had to have fucked him up a little bit too.
I know people who know the band Skillet now because it's not a Christian band anymore. Really? And like when I was growing up, that was a Christian band, and so like no one else knew it. But then, so some of their songs that are actually Christian songs are played on secular. I always loved that. So like the Monster by Skillet. I've heard that on a rock station. I'm just like, whoa. I mean, because you never used to, but now since they're not Christian anymore, or they might. I think they're still Christians, but they're not doing Christian songs anymore or something.
Right. So. I loved Skillet growing up. It's funny. I was literally having this conversation earlier today. I've actually seen them live. Greatest concert I've ever been to. Fucking awesome. Like pyro. Just awesome. I loved that band because it wasn't all about God, right? It was about life, and it was about like serious shit and relationships and like problems and like addiction and like all of this stuff that like is about real life and people actually have to go through. And so I loved that band. I still listen to their music pretty consistently. I haven't heard anything new. I just still listen to the stuff that I used to listen to. But my favorite Christian artist right now is John Bellion, who's also played on secular. He's not played on Christian stations because he like cusses and talks about drugs. But he's also Christian. What?
Straight to hell.
But like his songs are so great, like especially from a Christian point of view, because he writes about God, like he sings about God, but it's not every song. It's like he's got one song that's literally called Dead Man Walking, and it's about him fucking his older sister's friend. But he also has a song called Maybe I Don't Know, and it's one of my absolute favorite songs. And the chorus is, I guess if or how it starts off. I guess if I knew tomorrow, I guess I wouldn't need faith. I guess if I never failed, I guess I wouldn't need grace. I guess if I knew his plans, I guess he wouldn't be God. So maybe I don't know. And I'm like, fuck yes, I love this shit. Like, and because he also talks about other stuff and like is heartfelt and he cusses like I do, and it's just like real music and it's played on like pop stations. It's great. I love it, and I've heard like every song he's put out, and I listen to him all the time. Even though I don't agree with him philosophically anymore, it's still like super up my alley.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what was that song? Like, I want to touch you. I want to see your face. I want to know. Like, those songs were just like, oh my fucking God. And like, literally,
Yeah.
oh my fucking God. It's just, like, what we're talking about. It's just like, it's especially for guys like singing some of those songs, like I want to touch you. I want to. It's just like
the creepiest shit. Yo, those songs were written by some Catholic priests. Just like in a whole different context. Somebody was just like walking past a guy's office one day and he was just like thinking about one of his altar boys and he was like, I want to touch your face. And they're like, oh yeah, okay. I can write this into a song. That's where those fucking songs came from.
So true. Oh man.
And we went back into the dark comedy.
Oh, yeah. So did you guys do hymns much? We wouldn't do them like religiously, but we would do one. Yeah, we would do one every like day or every Sunday or whatever. And we would actually try to get like the men to sing the men's part and the women. So you had like the echo. So like when the roll is called up yonder, like it sounded cool. But
yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yeah, my church didn't do hymns very much. The church was very split over it. And like in every other group, when there's like a dichotomy and one group controls the something, they're a dick about it. So my worship leader was, even though he was in his like late 30s, early 40s, but like was really like anti-hymn. And so he just like, we tried to sing as few hymns as possible, basically, even if they were good hymns, because he was just being a dick about it. But my parents' current church like only sings hymns. My mom plays the piano, and this other guy just like sings. And not gonna lie, it's awful.
So, are we supposed to call those hers now instead of hymns? Like, is that?
Yep. That actually sounds like more fun.
Yeah, we're gonna sing hers. Which her do you want to sing today? Instead of like her, it sounds like her, like it's her.
Okay, I'm stoned. What's your excuse?
I'm bored. I live alone, so.
Oh man, we gotta fix that problem.
Yeah.
I'm coming out west soon, though. I had a really encouraging phone call today that I can't talk too much about, but I might be coming west, not like past you, unfortunately, but for further west,
Nevada,
very near future, California.
Oh, whereabouts?
Not 100% sure yet, but probably like Central Valley area.
Yeah,
but Oregon and Idaho are actually also kind of on the list of possibilities. Like I haven't had the actual job offer yet, but I have a meeting and just had like an hour-long phone call with the person that would give me the job offer today. And so I might be going out to Cali soon.
Wow. Out of the three, I'd choose Idaho, to be honest. Idaho's pretty chill. Although they're trying to fucking like permanently ban weed like for eternity or some shit.
Yes, they are.
Which is surprising because there's a lot of hippies in Idaho. I don't really know, like hippies,
like Idaho Joe,
like hippie, like people who work and smoke, like not like trailer park hippies, like lumberjack hippies. Those exist too. So,
fuck yeah,
they do. They're a real thing. The struggle for the lumberjack hippies is real. They need their weed. So
yeah, yo. But if I could go to Oregon. I always forget which one it is.
It depends on who you're talking to. So,
but apparently people that are from there feel very strongly about it, and I've been corrected, but I always forget which way I got corrected. But they just decriminalize all drugs and legalize psilocybin. They've had legal weed for quite some time. If I could go there and get like constitutional carry passed, fucking all day.
You got to let people pump their own fucking gas too. That's bullshit. They're like New Jersey there.
Are they?
Oh yeah, they've got the.
I don't know how I feel about that one, to be perfectly honest with you. It's not that bad. I don't hate it. What'd you say?
I said it's an abusive nanny state.
Yeah, so there's actually a gas station not far from my house that pumps your gas for you. In like the town that I grew up in, and I actually used to go there all the time because I was just like, this is cool. I'm down for that. Like, you don't have to get out. Like, you give them a little tip and you get to like have a quick little conversation with the guy, and like customer service was great. It's like a little small town thing. They actually company, and it was like a small oil company from around here, and so it was kind of neat, and usually fairly cheap as well because it was owned by the oil company. There was no like middleman cost. I was just like, so yeah, I'm not a fan of forcing it, but I am a fan of it existing.
Yeah. Hey, I've got to swing the conversation back into religion again because we're just like all over the place. But you know how laying hands on people somehow makes prayer more powerful?
Yes.
They must have been fucked the last year, like, because 6 feet apart. So that's really interfering with the spirit. That's not right. Like,
okay, so I'm actually gonna say something crazy. Like, I actually believe that part. I'm not, like, to a point, right? Like to the amount that I actually believe in prayer. I believe that like that you have the ability to. I do believe in like speaking things into existence, and that kind of mentality is something that I still believe for sure. And I also believe in like concentrated, focused energy. I think that if you're like being very intentional about something to the point where you're like laying hands and closing your eyes and like really get like, if you're really like trying to focus your energy and really try to speak something into existence, like I believe that actually works better than just being like, man, I hope that guy gets better. Like, no, have like 20 people all like lay hands on them and just like pray for 2 hours that he'll get better. Like, I've seen it work. That's the crazy thing. Like, I've witnessed miracles. So I have to believe that like part of it's real. Like, I've watched people that like had cancer that just like didn't have cancer anymore, and like nobody could explain it. And like people with like I've watched shit like that, like people that should never have been able to walk again, or people that should never have been able to have kids, and it's like you can't deny that there's some power in that focused energy. And I think like being intentional about stuff like where your hands are matters at least a little bit. But you're right, they're fucked right now.
Well, you just made Dr. Fauci happy because you said being intentional about where your hands are. You've got to be careful, like you're social distancing. So he's going to be impressed. Yeah,
Trump will also be happy about that because he's very intentional about where his hands are.
Who's that?
Trump.
Oh yeah. Oh God. Yeah, it's weird. Like with the miracle stuff. I've never seen. I mean, I've heard bajillions of stories from people I know, and I've been in tons of these like healing rooms and places where, I've seen like my brothers slain in the spirit or whatever start falling over, shit like that. But I've never seen anything that I couldn't explain away. Like I've seen someone be like, "Oh, I have an earache," and then they pray for them, and the earache goes away, and it's like, okay, like, it's going to take more than that to convince me.
It's a very strong placebo effect.
Yeah, but I mean, I've heard people talk about like legs straightening out and shit like that, and I don't necessarily disbelieve them, because they're people that I know who they don't talk things up. I pretty much believe what they say at face value, but I don't know. Like, I would have to see something like that happen to believe it. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird. Like, I don't disbelieve them, but I don't believe them. Like, it's just like a neutral stance. It's like, wow, I can't claim that I don't think you're telling me the truth, but for me to believe it, I would have to actually see something like that happen, if that makes any sense. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was one of the reasons why I got back into it, because the church that I go to in New York City, it's called Lower Manhattan Community Church. You can look them up on YouTube. They live stream their Sunday morning services. If you're a Christian, you're watching this and you haven't gotten offended yet,
they're gone. They left.
If you're watching this and you're a Christian, go watch their stuff on Sundays if you don't have a church to go to, because it's awesome. And like and I watched shit like that in that church. Like, they believe what they preach and they preach what they believe. And they definitely kind of, between that and then like going from going there all summer and then into the fall, and then like I stopped going there. Like I went there the Sunday before I moved to New Hampshire. Like I was going there all the way up until then. So that kind of like pushed me into this like more holistic version of Christianity, that then I was able to latch that Hindu Christianity onto, or like just open up to pretty easily, because they actually like believed this shit and they practiced it. And because they were actually intentional about it, they were able to do stuff. Like you were saying, I don't think most of the people in the church I grew up in, they don't believe in miracles.
Right.
They pretend that they do sometimes. But like the church that my parents go to right now, there's actually been like a 2-year long argument right now about whether or not like a bunch of the gifts of the Spirit still exist, like speaking in tongues and healing and stuff like that. They think that like died off with the apostles. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, you don't think that you can like heal somebody? And like, no, we can just pray and God will heal them. And it's like, but then what? Like, why? People are
I always had more respect for the hustle that the Pentecostals have, because say they believe what they're saying. I think, like, I mean, they're the only ones that are really bought, you know, like, oh, you actually believe all this. Like, yeah, the the like crisp Baptist, like, I don't know, like the average churchgoer is just like, I don't really think they believe everything they're talking about. But if you're someone who's like out there on the street, like praying for people, putting your hand on their knee, and, you know, you're actually expecting something to happen. So to me, that's more impressive that you're doing that than some guy who's just like reading the Romans Road and talking about, you know, how, I don't know, just like biblical theory. And it's like, you're not really that interesting to me.
So I'll tie this back into politics again, because I think this is an important piece to hit on. Because I believe the exact same thing that you're talking about right now about libertarianism.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe in libertarianism, you should be living it. You should be putting your hands on people, like in that, like, and praying. Like, you should be dismantling the state and building what we need to exist, like in your communities, for this future to work. If you really believe that that's where you should be, that we don't need government and we should be dismantling it slowly and surely, fucking live it out. Like, I have a lot of respect for both of the chair candidates in Oklahoma right now. Like, Kevin Hobby is doing some great, awesome stuff with his chair race, encouraging people to donate to charity rather than to his campaign. His opponent, Rex Longhorn, is literally building like a fully self-sustainable, like 20-acre farm in the mountains in Oklahoma, and like encouraging other people to do the same.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be a libertarian, live it. And if you're just like kind of going to church every Sunday, which is like just going to your like county meetings every month and like, still paying your taxes and living your life, like, fuck off. Like, I don't think you really believe it.
Yeah. Like, I have respect for people who disagree with me that I think actually believe what they're saying. You know, like Matt Taibbi, or however you say his name. Like, I respect that guy a lot. Like, I think he actually believes what he's saying. Or Jimmy Dore, you know, like, I think that guy believes what he's saying. where there are some libertarian, like Rand Paul. I don't respect that guy. We just did a whole episode on that last weekend. Go watch Dave's last episode with me if you want to hear more.
Yeah, it's a fun time.
Oh yeah, but yeah, people who are convicted and obviously are passionate and convinced what they're doing is for good. Like I have more respect for them, and they, if they're in a position of, if they're in some position of change or leadership or something like that, if they have enough crossover with me and they're proving that they actually believe what they're talking about, and I have some milquetoast guy who's 100% representative of my views but isn't doing shit, like I'm more interested in what that guy has to say than this guy who's just spouting off platitudes that are in line with what I think, because I don't know. Right. But yeah, I mean, it was the same way with religion. Like I still feel that way, like I know atheists that I can't stand because they're just boring and angry at everything. And they obviously, atheism is like really similar to libertarianism because it's mostly an oppositional belief, right? Like libertarianism in itself is a message of peace, right? Because it's the non-aggression principle. But most of it entails like being anti-government because there's so much government. Atheism is sort of the same deal. Like atheism in itself is just opposition to or like lack of religion. So if there was no religion, atheism is like doesn't matter. So, I have to have beliefs beyond atheism to define what I care about. And I know a lot of people who don't go beyond atheism. It's just atheism. It's like, okay, cool. Your existence is validated by opposition to something else that exists. What about once that's gone? And they don't really have anything. So I don't know, sort of the same idea.
I'll shit on libertarianism real quick. You'll enjoy this probably.
Always.
So I think that I think you're completely right. That libertarianism is like atheism. And so I'll take it a step further. Anarchy is like agnosticism. Mm-hmm. It's actually like where you end up once you finally figure out that it's all stupid. It's like, it's because to root your entire beliefs in the fact that you don't have beliefs is a belief system.
Right.
And that's just as stupid. Like atheism is a religion and it's equally stupid to all the rest of the religions. Agnosticism is just like, I don't know. You don't know. Let's have fun. Like that's anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you actually end up once you get to the end of the road and you're just like, I don't fucking know. I'm not going to try to tell you what to do. Let's just like, if we don't like each other, like, let's just not talk to each other or interact. And like,
yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't like the term atheist because it has connotations of anti-theism, because like atheism is not the affirmed belief that there is no God. It just means you don't believe in a God. It's just like the lack of belief, where agnosticism to me is way more I guess it's more ambivalent. It's just like, fuck, I don't know, like anything could go. And there are some things that I doubt. Like, I mean, I'm not like, I'm not wondering if like the traditional Christian history is true, like if everything in the Bible actually happened. Like, that's not really a wonder at this point. Like, I'd have to be presented with some evidence to think that, the things in the Bible actually happened, or that Jesus is the Son of God and that we're all going to go to hell if we don't repent of our sins and follow him. Like to actually get back to a place where I'd be thinking that again, it would take a lot of convincing. It's not just like, it's not just a thought like, oh yeah, that could be true. Or, Islam could be true, or Judaism, or, to me, it's like, yeah, I don't know what's out there, and there could be something out there. But it's when people start making all these specific claims about what it is that's out there and what happens after you die and where you go after you die and what things you have to do to go where you go after you die, then they start losing me. So I don't know if I say like agnostic atheists sometimes, like I don't know but there are like staunch anti-theist atheists who are religious. Like it's their religion to oppose religion and they don't stand for anything else beyond that.
Yep.
It's just stupid because you're right. It is a religion. Like you've gone full circle and you've become what you hate, basically.
So I'll give like kind of my definition. And like, so do you know like the etymology and like the origin of the term agnostic?
I guess not.
Okay. I just didn't want to like teach you something you already knew and like mansplain the concept or something.
I believe it. Yeah.
So the root word of like Gnostic, like it comes from a Greek term that means to know.
Right.
The original terminology and like in its Greek use in the early Christian days. So like a lot of the early Christians were Gnostics. They were part of this group of like which is another reason why I believe the kind of like Buddhist explanation of Christianity that like, you know, that we just deified him and the people back then didn't actually believe this because it's basically loosely translated into English. It is like the knowledge of not knowing is basically what it means. And so it's not about like the fact that you don't know and just like trying to like be ignorant of it, but it's about like actively not knowing basically and like thinking about and studying how little you know and like actively trying to still be a better person and like actually have a belief system, but that belief system is that you don't know and you're going to do everything you can to like try to figure it out and help other people along the way, and like that you know that it's not gonna, you're never gonna know. That's the fun, right? And it's just about like figuring your shit out along the way. So that's kind of why I've started using the term a lot more often, because it's like it's really just, it's similar to Taoism, but like Taoism is just like a special flavor of it, I guess, with an actual like couple of books that you can base it off of. But it's just that same idea of like, I don't really know, but like this works, like being a good person. So let's keep doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I used to have like, I think I had libertarian and atheist in my bio on Twitter, and I took them both out. And now it just says individual, I think. Like, I forget. I can actually pull it up here and see what it says.
Do you still have your pronouns as shall not be infringed?
Oh, of course.
Nice.
That's not going away. I need that to protect myself against getting zucked. So yeah, it just says truck driver, individual. Like that's all I used to have, like libertarian, atheist. I might even had something else in there, but I don't know, dude. Like these fucking labels, they just suck because people have experiences with labels. And then when you ascribe one to yourself, they take the worst attributes they've ever experienced from that label and put it onto you.
Yep.
And then that's what they think of you. So, I got it. I sent you a link to that conversation I was in a few days ago with that guy who identified as a Maoist who freaked the shit out of me with the way he was talking. And in that conversation, I was telling him that I value the individual, not the collective, because collectivizing is how we end up marginalizing groups, because we start thinking of them in simplistic ways. When, if you're white or black, gay, straight, man, woman, whatever, religious, not religious, like we all have a different story and we all have different specifics to how we got where we are and what it is we believe. And so to just like slap a label on it and call that good enough, it just doesn't work. Like, like I'm a Christian. Okay. What does that mean? Let's talk it out. Like if you described yourself as a Christian, I would just automatically think a bunch of things about you that aren't true. And we've just had this discussion that have unearthed a lot of things. If I just said atheist and you didn't know anything about me, like, you probably would have come to some incorrect conclusions about what it is I believe. And the same thing with like libertarian. Like, so many people don't even know what that means, or they have their own version of what it means.
So many people think it's racist.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the most unracist thing ever because it's individualist. Like,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, maybe this is a good thing to close on. But I think the battle is having discussion and valuing each other as individuals, not as the collective label that we decide to put on ourselves and put on others. Like, that's the biggest trap we fall into. That's where identity politics comes from. It's where this divide we have comes from. Like, I love that video we did with Dave Smith, because I got so many messages from people just saying like, wow, this really unearthed a lot of stuff that we were wondering about, or, it really cleared up a lot of misconceptions. It's like, yeah, I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to have a conversation with someone and hear their story.
Mm-hmm.
You can tell them your story, and that's how you resolve things. Like this blanket, it's the one size fits all approach again. Like, that doesn't do anyone anything at all.
Yep.
It just makes everything worse.
Yeah. Could not agree more.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll cap it right there. But
yeah, I don't have anything to add to that. You just like made the pitch for individualism, and I don't want to mess it up. So,
well, we're gonna have more religious talks in the future. This was like the darkest, most humorous, like scary conversation I've gotten into in a while. This was good. I liked it. So, yeah.
Well, we can continue some of this Monday on Fighting Friends with hopefully other people, because I'd love for both Jeremy and Stacia to be part of that conversation, because their religious views are pretty interesting as well.
Yeah, for sure. That'd be great.
Let's just keep it going.
Yeah. All right, Dave. Well, thanks for joining me. And of course, we will do it again.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
All right. Catch you later.